And we're back with some more Czeching Lions franchise mode, and in this one, we are going to try to go the entire regular season of year number 7, I believe this is. And I am really hoping for a playoff berth here, because obviously it's getting to that time of the GM mode where we should be successful at this point. I haven't seen much success yet, besides that one Stanley Cup in year number 2. So here are our lines going into this year. We have Danielson, Greiba, and Rosehill. Then you have Radish, Granlund, and Aronson. So he's down to the second line now. I want to see how he does on the second line as opposed to being on the first line with Danielson. I figured if I could break up the goal scoring a little bit, that might help. On the third line, you have Nokalainen, Ben-Dahan, and Lesishin. And on the fourth line, you have Velarde, McLeod, and Smith. On defense, you have Slavin and Stillman, Larson and Schwartz, Schultz, and Gibson. In goal, you have McCutcheon and Demko. Scratched are Carlo, Bentley, and Kopaka. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a spot for Bentley. He's just going to have to be a replacement defenseman for right now. It's unfortunate he hasn't grown much because he really had some potential there in the AHL. He was phenomenal, but it's unfortunate he hasn't really worked out for us in the NHL so far, especially not growth-wise. Power play is looking like Danielson, Greiba, Radish, Rosehill, and Schultz. And then you have Ben-Dahan, Granlund, Aronson, Nokalainen, and Slavin. So I'm going for the same sort of setup that we've had on the power play recently, with Danielson being the main shooter on this power play and Aronson being the main shooter on the second power play. Penalty kill, you get +5 on both lines with McLeod, Lesishin, Schwartz, and Stillman. And then you have Velarde, Smith, Larson, and Slavin. Extra attackers are Danielson and Rosehill. I guess I should change Rosehill since Danielson and Rosehill are in the same line, so we'll get Aronson there. Shootout is Danielson, Granlund, Aronson, Rosehill, and Nokalainen. And in goal, I think McCutcheon is going to get the chance to try to surpass Demko this year. He's up to 185 overall, so this is the year that McCutcheon definitely has to prove himself. He's 24 years of age now. Didn't have a good year the past, really, 2 years. So if McCutcheon's going to be a big part of our future, now is the time for him to prove it. So that being said, we will go ahead and start the season simulation. I don't know what to say regarding McCutcheon. I think he just has to be traded. He is just not good. Third season in a row of an 890 or below. He's at an 887 right now in 24 games played, only 9 wins. And we're heading into December now. So he's played the majority of the game. As a matter of fact, I think he's played almost all of them. Yeah, Demko's only gotten in for 4 games. And even in the games Demko's gotten in, he's got an 884. So it's not like I can even go to Demko and say that he'll be better for certain, because he won't be. We just have some horrible goaltending. So I think I've waited long enough. We need a better goaltender, without a doubt. It's killing us. So with that being said, I am going to look for a trade for a goaltender, and I will not stop till I find one. All right, so I have found a trade, and it involves Mackenzie Blackwood from the St. Louis Blues. Honestly, he is one of the best goalies in the game when it comes to consistency from year to year with his save percentage. He has been one of the only goaltenders who I've not seen fall below like a 904 or 905 during the regular season. And even during the playoffs, most of the time, with the exception of that 1 year with New Jersey, he's been great. So I'm willing to overpay for Mackenzie Blackwood, because if there's any goaltender who's going to be able to get us out of this, it's him. So I know this is a huge overpayment, but I will give them McCutcheon, Hobson, and a third for Mackenzie Blackwood. I think that's fair, because let's be real, McCutcheon shouldn't be an 85 overall with that save percentage, and his value is only dropping with his age, because obviously he is not simulating like an elite goaltender. I mean, his value is way down there. And then Hobson, he is a 74 overall offensive defenseman, but if you look at his offensive awareness, it's a 63, so I don't think he'll end up amounting to much at the NHL level. And then we're including the third round pick in there for good measure. So once again, I know this is an overextension, at least by the trade value itself, but it wouldn't feel right taking Blackwood, who's been really solid basically the entire GM mode, without giving up a little bit more value than he's worth. So proposed trade, there it is. Absolute no-brainer for them. Well, you know what? It is an absolute no-brainer for me as well. So welcome to the team, Mackenzie Blackwood. And honestly, I might consider shipping Demko out as well, because he was all right last year, but 3 out of 4 years so far, he's just been brutal. It's not like he was even great in the playoffs last year either. Or that wasn't even last year, that was 2 years ago. Okay, so we're essentially at the trade deadline here, and I'm kind of struggling. I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of struggling to pinpoint where exactly our issues are. Because if we take a look at the goals for per game, we're up there with some of the best teams in our division. We're at 3.39. I mean, obviously, we have issues defensively, but a lot of our division has issues defensively, too. This is certainly an offensive division, because the lowest goals against average is a 3. And then meanwhile, even though we're at a 3.39 for goals for per game, the Florida Panthers, they're up here at a 3.56, then there's a 3.48, 3.46, 3.3, 3.06. This division is really offensively based. And then when you take a look at the power play, we're third in the division with the power play with a 24.4. And then the penalty kill, we're first in the division with an 82.8. And yet, when you take a look at our record, we're only 29, 26, and 7. And offensively, like the team stats say, we're doing all right. I don't see any particular weak link when it comes to point scoring. We're doing all right on faceoffs. I wish we would be doing better. I recently moved Aronson to the center because Granlund was struggling on faceoffs. But besides Granlund, we've been all right on faceoffs. Hits, I mean, we've been hitting as much as anybody. Takeaways and giveaways, there's not really anyone who's standing out in a bad way defensively besides Smith, who's been scratched. So I'm struggling to find where we're struggling defensively. Because when we take a look at the defensive core now, you have Slavin 32 points, Stillman 25. So everyone's chipping in on the back end. Larson, he's been scratched for the past while because he was pretty bad defensively. But almost everyone besides Schultz hits on the back end, and Bentley has not really played this year. Takeaways and giveaways, the only one who really stands out in a bad way is Jacob Larson with an 8-44. Everyone else is okay. And when you take a look at our goaltenders, Thatcher Demko has been doing great recently, a .913 save percentage. So he's certainly been the go-to recently. Unfortunately, I just don't know what to say about the goaltenders on this team, because Blackwood, after a career full of consistent stats, puts up an 881 this year for whatever reason on our team. And he's never had numbers like this in the simulation. Never. So I don't know what to say about that. Maybe it's our defense. Maybe it's just the division we're in. Because like I said, our division is a really offensively based division, it appears. And I'm honestly struggling to find any players besides those who are already benched that are struggling defensively. But out of everything, I think this is the most interesting stat and probably the most concerning as well. Take a look at total power plays. We have 131 on the year so far. And you look at the next team in our division, the Ottawa Senators have 167. We, for whatever reason, do not take we do not get a whole lot of power plays. Even in the entire league, we have by far the least amount of power plays. I don't know what it is, and I don't know how to fix that, to be honest. But we definitely need more power plays, because our power play is actually pretty decent. But the problem is we're not getting that many of them compared to the rest of our division. So, like I said, I'm not entirely sure how to fix that. I don't know if that's something I can fix, but I just know that we definitely need to get some more power plays somehow. Because the rest of our division, when you take a look, like the Florida Panthers, 192, Boston 192 as well. They have 61 more power plays than we do on the season. That is... I've never seen anything like this, let me tell you. And even looking at the plus minus, like most of our players are either positive or even. We only have, I think, only 5 players that are negative. And Jacob Larson, who has by far the worst plus minus, has been scratched for the past month. So I'm not entirely sure what I'd need to do to fix this team defensively. Because like I said, everyone who is currently dressed, they've been doing great. Like Lesishin, he has a great ratio. Same with Danielson, Rosehill, Aronson, Granlund. All those guys have been great. And even the defensemen, like I said, for the most part, besides Larson, they've been all right. So I don't know what to say. So like I said, I'm not sure there's anything I can do going into the trade deadline regarding this team and its defense, because even the teams that are bad, they score goals. Well, besides Boston. But Every other team in this division is scoring goals or is somehow getting wins, such as Tampa. I guess we just need to try to ramp up our goal scoring even more, because I have no other answer to that. I really don't. This is just an offensive juggernaut of a division. And again, if we take a look at our players' stats, it's not like we're struggling to score goals. Like, we have multiple 20-goal scorers. Aronson's almost at 30. Granlund has 36 assists. Ben DeHaan on the third line has 36 assists as well. And then Slavin on the back end has 31 points. Stillman has 25. It's certainly very perplexing. This is probably one of the weirdest teams we've ever had on the channel, I'm going to say. And I don't even think that chemistry would make much of a difference in this situation, because we have 3 really good offensive lines. I mean, Nokalainen could be doing better, I suppose. So he's, out of everyone, I would say he's the weakest link. But even he's not bad, you know, because he has 131 shots. He has a 13 shooting percentage, which isn't bad in itself. And he has 17 goals on this third line. Like I said, I'm struggling to find any truly weak link on the team. But if there was anyone on this team who I would consider the weakest, it'd be probably either Nokalainen or Velarde. But even them, you know, they're doing a good job for the amount of ice time that they're getting. So I have no idea what to think or what to do at the trade deadline here. I think we just go out the season with this roster and hope for the best, because lately we've been playing better. It's just the games at the start of the season with McCutcheon, I think, threw us off, and then plus all the games that Blackwood lost. So I think as long as Demko gets the majority of the games, we honestly at this point should be fine, as long as Demko keeps playing the way he's been playing recently. I think we just have to hope for more power plays, because that's really what it's coming down to. More power plays and consistent goaltending is what we need. And obviously, Demko is providing the consistent goaltending lately, so we just need to hope that our guys can figure out a way to draw more penalties, because I am honestly at a loss for words at this point. So let's go the rest of the season, see what happens. I just don't know what to say. I really don't. We're 6 games after the trade deadline now. We're 30, 32, and 7. Currently sitting in 5th, outside of the playoffs, of course. And we're not even really close, unfortunately, to the wild card, because the Capitals and the Devils kind of have that locked up right now. And when you take a look at the past 6 games, it's literally only been 6 games since the trade deadline. And if you remember, Thatcher Demko had a solid save percentage. He had a .913 going into this trade deadline, but going back to this game against Colorado, 9-1 loss. This was all Demko, by the way. A 9-1 loss, 5-2 loss, 3-2 loss, 7-2 loss, 6-2 win, 7-4 loss, 4-1 loss. It's been brutal. And I don't get it. I seriously don't get it with this team. This is the most confused I have ever been as a general manager. I have no clue what to make of this team. With that 9-1 loss and all the losses that followed, he's now down to an 897. I don't get it. He was doing just fine. As a matter of fact, he was doing incredible prior to the trade deadline. With that 913 save percentage, I mean, keep in mind, he had worked his way up back from a sub 900 when the season started. So he was doing incredible up until that point. But all of a sudden, as soon as the trade deadline passes, he decides to do that. I guess all we can do at this point is just go the rest of the season, but it's not looking good again. I mean, at this point, it can't hurt. We may as well try something. Let's get Ben DeHaan on a line with Aronson and Granlund, see if that could spark Aronson for the last part of the season. Then I think we'll get McLeod with Nokalainen and Lesishin. I'm trying something here. And it's not like I could even change anything up about the power play or the penalty kill either, because they've been the best parts of our team throughout this whole season. So the most I can do is change up the 5-on-5, but even then, at this point, I'm just guessing, because it's just been one confusing thing after another for this team, and I just really don't understand. It feels like the simulations have just been completely random. I gotta be honest. So with that, we finished the season 38, 35, and 9. We missed the playoffs. We only got 85 points this season. And honestly, we could have, if we just got a couple more wins, we could have clinched that wild card. Because if I'm not mistaken, we had a pretty solid end to this season as well. If we take a look at our last 10. Yeah, we were 7-1-2 in our last 10. So we had a solid end to the season. A lot of things went wrong this season, obviously. We had a great penalty kill compared to the rest of our division. We had a solid power play. But whatever we were doing just wasn't enough. I mean, we were never great defensively, obviously. But those 6 games after the trade deadline in particular is what really tanked my confidence of this team's defense. And as we see here, like, it's not even like we're bad offensively. It's just the rest of our division is just ridiculous offensively. And then the power play. This is the part I really don't understand. We have close to 90 less power plays than the Florida Panthers did. And then if we take a look at the entire league, we were by far dead last. The Pittsburgh Penguins had 200 and they were 30th in the league. Or I guess in this case, 31st because, there's 32 teams now. I guess we just need players with better speed and better hands because this is a pretty significant difference when you consider the rest of the league. I mean, it appears the average is around 230, somewhere around there. And yet we're sitting like 60 power play opportunities below the average. So that's certainly an area that we just struggle with massively. And like I said, I'm not even sure if that's something that I can fix. And like I said, I was having a hard time finding any weak defensive link prior to the trade deadline. But of course, once the trade deadline passed, things sort of fell apart in a bad way with goals against per game. And of course, I thought Blackwood would help, but apparently in this game, a history of save percentage means nothing. Because, obviously he goes from all this to that. And then Demko's just been all over the place the past few years. He really has been. Because he started out bad, then he gradually worked his way up to a .913 save percentage, and then literally over the course of 7 games, he just tanks his entire save percentage. I think we'll give it one more go, and if next season doesn't work, then I think I'm just going to have to resign because I don't understand this team at all. I mean, you have 330 goal scorers. You have Nokalainen who'd scored 20. Radish was close to 20. And then assist-wise, you have Greiba who got 56 assists and 70 points in his second season in the NHL. He had a breakout year. Ben DeHaan on the third line for most of the year had 47 assists. So it's certainly not for a lack of offense that we're losing. And defensively, there's guys chipping in all around offensively. There's certainly no lack of hits on the back end either. You have 3 guys with over 100. And then takeaway giveaway ratios, I mean, they certainly got worse as the year went on. But at the trade deadline, there wasn't really too many players that I was concerned with besides Jacob Larson. So, like I said, if we can't get it done next season, then I think we just got to call it. Because this is one of the most confusing GM modes I have ever done. I think I'll end this one off here, and the next one we will get through the year 7 offseason where we'll try to turn our fortunes around. So with that, I will see you guys in the next one.